with regards to the CDT funds, and yeah, thank you very much. Asking some questions, and again, I'm new at this, and I'm struggling to try to come up with some information and make sense of a lot of this, because this process, in my opinion, is very unfair for this commission. I think Mr. Murphy said we should start in January. We probably should, and I think this is the budget is the biggest policy statement we make, and I look at this budget, and I'm hard pressed to find the actual policy. There's talk about sustainability in the mayor's memo. I've been given budget books that I keep being told are based on inaccurate numbers because of the millage. So it's been very hard for me to really be able to make an intelligent, educated look. Now, the staff has been great, and they responded to my questions. But again, I have a hard time finding a compass to what we're doing and why we're doing it. And with regards to these CDT funds, I was actually very surprised to find out that somehow, with several museums, we decided to fund them all at $2.5 million from CDT funds. I kind of asked, why did the Historical Museum, and again, listen, these are all great institutions, and I'm a fan of all of them, but it asked the question, why are we going from 1.4 million to 2.5 million? For the Miami Art Museum, we're going from 1.9 million to 2.5 million. Miami Science Museum from 1.2 million to 2.5 million. And when I asked Jennifer the question in a phone conversation we had, these are operational funds. We never obligated ourselves to fund these operations. So I went and I looked at state statute what we can do with CDT funds. And I looked at it, and nowhere did I find that we could fund museums from here. And when I asked the county attorney's office, they told me that exhibition halls classified were counted as museums. So I asked them, where is the definition that says an exhibition hall is a museum? They said that there was case law, and then they said there was no case law. So I'm a little concerned here that we have significantly increased the funding, and this is operational support. This isn't construction. The operational funding, because once we give these folks this money, I don't think we're ever going to be able to get it back. And the point I want to make is, where are we setting our priorities? We've talked, one of the things that we could fund from the CDT money is a light rail transit system between two cities. We've talked about the Bay Link, about potentially looking at some of our tourism dollars to try to fund some of our infrastructure. And instead of making a decision or a conversation where we decide if we want to invest in infrastructure, we have just basically, again, without understanding the policy behind it, we have decided to significantly increase the operational support of a lot of museums. Now, granted, I only have one museum out there in the western part. Actually, there's two. There's one in FIU, and there's another one at Miami Airport. They get none of this money. Actually, almost everything that we fund out of the CDT is actually pretty much east of the Palmetto. And I think other than maybe South Dade, if you want to consider that. But again, the ones that I'm focused on are the ones that receive significant funding. So what I'm trying to get at is, number one, are we actually complying with state law in the way we use our CDT funds? Because I'm not sure we are. And number two, what is the policy decision to increase the Historical Museum, the Miami Arts Museum, the Miami Science Museum, from where they're at, take them all up to $2.5 million?
Commissioner, you want me to answer that question?
Yes, please.
Well, Commissioner, this community, through the GO bonds, decided to invest $275 million in the creation of an art museum and a science museum. And for us to invest as a community $275 million in the creation of these two world-class museums and then expect us not to operate them, I think it's a waste of our money, the $275 million that the people of Miami-Dade County actually invested in it. And so, yes, there was increased operational support because these museums are going from very small spaces to actually world-class facilities. And when you do that, there's an increase in operational expenses. And so for us, for me, the policy is that it makes sense, after we've invested $275 million in these two museums, for us to actually increase the funding for operations in order to have a world-class operation.
Do you expect that amount to continue to go up?
At this point, sir, I don't believe it can, because they've asked for more. Believe me, they came and asked for more. I said, no, we can't do that. And